Alright, so this is the gross fancy way to set up an IK-FK switch, which I will show you guys in the legs, and it involves basically making 3 different joint chains, which is kind of weird, but there you go. So what I'm going to do is just turn off my body for now. I'm going to, let's see here, I'll just really quick make my little the sort of IK controllers for each side of the body. So I just, as a personal preference and sort of habit, sort of make these weird little floating circles just like off to the sides of the ankles. And just make sure, again, this doesn't really matter, it's just sort of, at this point I've been brainwashed to do it. You just want to go ahead and make sure that the pivots are sort of in the center of your joint. Go ahead and zero those out. I will call this, I'm just going to unparent those, left leg switch and right leg switch. And I'm really weird about extra capitalization. Alright, just go ahead, make those, put them in there, they're done. You can actually add attributes, so I know I'm going to set up like an IK, or an IK-FK switch with these, and also an IK-FK control visibility, so I'm just going to go ahead and do both of those at once. So I'll add my attributes to FK switch, make sure that is a float, that is either on or it's off, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that, and IK viz, this I would like as an integer, min max 0, 1, FK viz, integer, minimum 0, maximum of 1. Huzzah. So those are in there. Don't need to worry about that. Come back to that later. So what I want to do first with this is unreference my skeleton. Always helpful. So I'm going to come in, and this is where stuff gets like super, super annoying. Basically, I'm actually just going to delete the entire left hip. Why not? And I'm going to basically recreate it 3 times. My sort of cheat way is just getting rid of it. Come into skeleton, mirror joints, and this also means I'm gonna have to like rehook up my leg geometry because that's not connected to anything anymore. So I will search for right and replace it with, I'm gonna do IK left. So I'm just adding extra text in here. Again, it doesn't really matter. So now I have my left IK hip. I will select my right hip again, switch this to FK left, apply that, and then grab my right hip one final time and just do the regular left hip. So again, there's practically no purpose for deleting this. I just think it's kind of systematic and easy to deal with the renaming of everything if you do it like this. So I've just deleted my right hip, and I'm going to come back, grab my IK left, and just mirror all of these across. And since I've already labeled these IK, FK left, it's just going to sort of swap out just that L in there. So now we should have 3 different leg joints. Huzzah! And what I like to, there's a few different ways that you can set up your outliner to do this. For a robot, it doesn't really make a lick of difference in my opinion, but it's just sort of force of habit. I like having my bind skeleton without anything else in it. So bind skeleton is like what all of your little robot bits are sort of attached to. So my bind skeleton is going to just be this right hip and the left hip. This IK and FK is purely a thing I'm going to use to drive the rest of the controls. So I'm just going to take these and just basically unparent them from my skeleton, and I'll make a group of IK, FK joints. So I just sort of have these here. So again, they're still there. They're still very much under the master control. That's important. They're just not parented to my root. So you'll notice like if I go and where am I? Oh my god, there's too much stuff. Okay, so if I like click on this IK handle, or I'm sorry, what am I saying? If I click on this left hip, I can move this out. It is not connected to anything. Really quick, I'm also going to go through and just grab my controls and make a new display layer for them. Controls, so that I can turn them off, because I think they're messy to look at right now. Alright, so that's what we have. And here's where things get, like, kind of a little bit weird. Is I'm gonna go ahead and just temporarily hide these FK controls. So I'm only looking at the IK here, and I will just isolate select, so I'm only looking at these legs. Sometimes I'll actually tack on, so right now, like if I turn off this skeleton, this is only for the stuff under the root, so if I wanted to, I could make like a separate little display layer for these, or just hide them permanently. Doesn't really matter. But what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and make some IK handles for each of these legs. So again, this is the IK leg, so I'll name this, what have I been labeling these? IK right leg. Ooh, I'm just gonna leave it IK left leg. And then I'm going to go ahead, unhide that, turn my controls back on, and grab the left IK control for the leg, and just constrain that like I normally would with a point constraint to the appropriate legs. So basically what I'm doing is sort of creating, you can see there's like extra joints there. I'm effectively sort of setting up individual IK, FK setups, and then I'm going to attach them all back in to everything else sort of later. So what I'm going to do now is just attach all of these FK controls, so just really basic, just grab the control, grab the joint, constrain, orient, all the way down the line. And actually, it occurs to me that I don't need these controls for, wait, what is this? This is the ankle. Yes, okay, so I need the ankle. I don't need this right now. So actually, I'm a dingus, and for all of these, I actually do not want this last joint in the foot. I only am interested in the leg itself. So I'm going to delete those and hide these. So like the leg is literally just the joints which have IK feet and legs and such on them. Unless I'm going crazy, which I might be. Wait. I can add them back in later if I screw it up. It's, for some reason I always forget how to do the feet, which is silly, but anywho. Alright, so I've done that. I need to constrain the ankles. Setting up IK feet is like a sort of weird, fun, systematic thing that I find enjoyable. Alright, so if we unhide all of this, you will notice that like we have these lovely FK controls that will behave like FK controls, and so help me if step snapping turns on one more time, I'm going to throw my computer out the window. And we have the IK controls doing their thing, and if I unhide the base skeleton, you can see that we do literally have now 3 legs on one side of the body, which is insane looking, and I will show you now how to actually hook them up so they behave like real person legs after I move all of this stuff back into place. Again, it is important to do this with your skeleton in bind pose, or like the original T-pose you started with. You can't start doing this with all the crazy stuff out here. So basically what we're going to do is go into the node editor. So if you go Windows, it's just down here. It's so important that they didn't put it under a menu. Honestly, I mostly just sort of use it for rigging. But what we're going to do is select... I'll start with my left leg, what the heck. Alright, so you're going to grab all of the joints of your left leg and the sort of left bind skeleton, so like the L hip. And then you also want the, starting with left, so you want, dang it, the FK leg, the IK leg, and the normal leg. So select all the joints from the 3 skeletons. Make sure you're doing it on the same side of the body. I don't do that a lot. I'm just going to get rid of the way these are displayed, so just this little button here will sort of clean anything in your node editor, and just hit plus with all that selected, and it's going to drag all of this nonsense into your node editor. And effectively what we're going to do here is kind of like what we did when we set up the IK FK switch for the arm. You just need to set everything up manually. So you're going to grab the IK hip and then the FK hip, and I'm just going to sort of throw this over here. And the node editor gets really gross really fast, so one thing I would recommend is hitting P P as in pet, that's going to pin the nodes in place so they don't just like shift around randomly. So what we're going to do, the way this works is basically if you press tab, just like anywhere with your mouse in this, it's going to pull up this little box and you just start typing in nodes. So you can do like blend, in this case we're going to use a blend colors node, but you can also look for stuff like AI, like an AI curvature node if you're doing, if curvature node is for the hypershade, but like you can pretty much type in a bunch of stuff and like it'll pull up all the things with that in it. It's kind of like a search field. So essentially this is just sort of something that we can look at. There we go. So if you click on this like little hamburger menu, it will sort of expand and de-expand this node. So it's basically you can just sort of plug things into this and output something from it, which is a weird way to describe that. I just find it challenging to describe this, but basically what it's doing is saying, here's a blender. So like in this case, the blender is going to be this little IK switch attribute that we've made here, and it's going to blend between thing 1 and thing 2. And in this case, thing 1 and 2 are going to be the IK rotation and the FK rotation from these separate joints. And it's going to output some combination of this rotation, which we're going to plug into the rotation of this hip here. So I'm just going to kind of show you how to set it up. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Because I always find it challenging to describe that. But I'm also, the other thing that I do need in here is the IK-FK switch. So I'm just going to grab this, this controller here for the left leg and add that in. And you can see it pops it down over here. So I have, you just, so what we're going to do is grab this IK-FK switch, and you should be able to just sort of click on this little dot, drag it into your blender, and that's hooked up. The next thing you want to do is grab, there's like a few different ways you can sort of view this. You can expand the whole thing and then like find the rotation and hook that into color 1. Or you can sort of, there's so much stuff. Yeah. Node editor gets really, really gross really, really fast. Or you can just sort of click on this little bubble, scroll up to rotate, and just grab all of rotate, unclick, and then just pop that into color 2. And I would love so much if it didn't flop these around. This is the beauty of pinning, so just like grab this, hit P, grab this, hit P, and then it won't flop it around. So very quickly my node editor has become an absolute mess of disgustingness. But basically all I've done here, if you can kind of trace the little lines, I've hooked up a rotation. It usually adds this little unit conversion thing. Don't worry about that. It's just a calculation thing Maya uses. I've attached that in to color 1. And then I've grabbed the switch as my blender and then the rotation of the FK hip in color 2. So the important thing with this is it doesn't at all matter if you put IK into color 1 or color 2, but pick one and be consistent throughout your rig. If you don't, it's going to cause some like really weird things, and basically like if you want FK in some places where you've hooked it up in the opposite order, it's going to give you FK instead, which is just a mess. So in this case, I'm just going to start with IK in color 1 and do FK in color 2. It's also a good idea to name these. Knee blend. But I'm not going to lie, like I usually don't. It's terrible practice not to do that, but I'm very lazy. So I'm just going to, again, hit tab, do blend colors, and I'm just going to hit P to pin that immediately and do that again. Blend colors. And again, just sort of pin that in place. The other thing that I haven't done yet is connected the output of this. So I'm going to grab this hip bend and I'm just going to pop that into the rotate of my hip joint. So basically it should, based on whatever value you input for the blender or your IK-FK switch, it's going to sort of interpolate between these numbers, kick out a value, and that's going to be translated to this bind skeleton hip. So again, I'll just sort of set that up again. So first of all, grab the interesting. Where have I put my... Oh yeah, this one drives me nuts. All right, so grab your IK-FK switch. Other? Okay, that's Just going to expand that. It's easier to find that one when it's expanded, apparently. So grab your switch, pop that into blend color as the blender. I do also kind of find that easier to look at. Again, rotate of IK goes into color 1. Color 1 because it's the one that we chose here. And that was actually bad. So I've just hooked up color 1 twice. Alright, so here's this. What have I... Oh my god. Node editor gets so gross. It didn't used to be this bad in previous versions of Maya. So I just hooked up the hip. This one we're doing is the knee. So I should be grabbing the rotation from the knee. Rotation? Anyone? Anyone? Rotation? Great. Okay, rotation from the knee is color 1. And rotation from the FK knee is going to be color 2. I do apologize for my node editor exploding. It's usually not this bad. And then again, just grab the output of that and pop that into the rotate of your left knee. I think I will actually try rotating these, try renaming these and see if that knee blend helps me stay organized. I do think it will be nice. Left ankle blend. Alrighty then. So that's a thing, and just set that up one more time again. So again, grab the switch, throw that into your blender, grab the rotate, and just pop that into color 1. Cry as the node editor explodes everything. Grab the rotate of your ankle, and pop that. I guess color 2 was the only thing available, so it put that in color 2. And then again, just grab the output of this output and pop that into the ankle rotate. This is why it's good to pin your nodes, because the outliner, or this is apparently evil on so many levels. So what we should have, if we, drag this leg here, like rotate this out, you'll notice that we do have a bind skeleton somewhere in here. But if we click on this little switch and we scrub back and forth between them, you can see it's doing it terribly. So terribly. But it is dragging this bind skeleton here back and forth between this IK and this FK handle, which is what we were going for. The flipping, not so much, and that's probably just going to be... I usually just get angry at the flipping, and I'm like, what if I just remake the whole leg cough? And that's how I fix that. So a few things that you want to check for if you want to try to set this up is make sure that it works, obviously, like if your legs are in different positions, but do the switch immediately when nothing is moved and see if there's anything insane like this happening. Every once in a while, like let me hide. So for some reason, when I've hooked up, this is the FK knee, it's added this rotation of 360 degrees to that knee joint. Not entirely sure why it's done that, but it has. And if I presumably click on my FK joint, or my IK knee, it's not done that. It has added a rotation of -0. I'm just going to ignore that for now. But in this case, the main offender here is actually presumably this 360 degree rotation on the Y. So what I'm going to do is just go through, figure out where the heck the stupid knee constraint is. Knee orient constraint. I'm going to kill that. I'm going to I'm going to hide my IK hip because I can't see what I'm doing. Grab this. Left knee. Did I constrain that twice? Highly questionable. I'm just going to set this rotation back to 0. It should be in the same position it was before, one would hope. I've apparently added multiple constraints to this, which is also highly questionable. Just make sure that's set to 0. So I'm just going to grab this and just reconstrain with the orient constraints, reconstrain this geometry. And you can see that it has done, it's not added that extra rotation in this time. Don't know why that was a thing. Gonna see what happens if I scrub between these. And in this case, there is no insane flipping. So if you do get that, again, it's good for your joints to not start out with rotation on them. So please do make sure, like, if you get that crazy flipping, random rotation has probably been tacked on your joints, even if you didn't put it there. So just make sure that, like, go through, it's good and kind of like double check and see if that was an issue. But you can see now we actually have reasonable, nice interpolation between things. So in that case, it was a delightful, easy fix, and I didn't need to redo half my rig, which is always exciting. Honestly, I'm excited by sad, sad things. So really quick, I'm just going to... Actually, I'll look that up later. So I'll show you how to set up the switch, again, with the right side of the body. And I think I'm actually pretty much... I'm done with these IK-FK joints for now, so I'm actually just going to... I'm just going to regroup these for organizational things, because I don't like looking at a bunch of stuff, so I'm just going to hide them. I don't need to see them. I probably am never going to edit them again, so I'm just going to hide them in my outliner instead of making a group over here for them. Alright, so back to the node editor, this giant mess of disgustingness. So I'm just going to select all of this, clean everything, and apparently if you've pinned nodes, it won't clean those, so hit P to unpin them, clean your board again, and you're just going to want to go through and do exactly the same thing that we did before. Haha! Joys of life. So, this is the kind of repetitive bit. So, grab your rig. Let me just make sure I'm recording because I'm paranoid. It'd be really sad if I had to do that again. Grab all of your bind skeletons, the IK skeletons, and the FK skeletons for the left leg. And while I'm here and I know I'll need it, I will grab the controller for that left leg. Add them in. You can also do this individually, so you can just like start with the hip, do just the hip instead of having all of these at once. I've just... If you can keep yourself organized, I think it's easier to do them all at once. So again, for consistency, I'm gonna just put the IK stuff above the FK, and this is gonna go into the color channel 1 of my blend node, and I'm just gonna sort of pin all this stuff down while I'm here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do blend colors, blend colors, blend colors. Excuse me. And I'm just gonna go ahead and rename them because I can. So I'll do right hip blend, right knee blend, and right ankle. The only reason I really label these is if I need to come back, it's just easier to find stuff. Like if they're labeled, sometimes you have to go back in and troubleshoot your rig, and if you just sort of leave these as like blend colors 789, it gets really confusing because then you have to track where everything is, which kind of sucks. Alright, so I can never remember if it's like the switch. No, it's not the switch shape. So it's the actual switch. So again, just grab the IK-FK switch from your controller, pop that into the blender, and for grins, I'm actually just going to go and do this sort of all at once. So I'm just going to put this into the blender for all of these. Blender. And grab the rotation from the hip, rotate, pop that into color 1, and grab the FK rotation and pop that in. It's color 2 is the only place for it to go, so it's going to hook it up to color 2. So again, rotation from IK, very important, put it into color 1, and I'll just do all the IK at once because I can. Rotate, color 1 of ankle. So you can see kind of maybe how setting it up like this is a little bit like it's organized because you can just sort of systematically go in order and like visually attach things to each other and just ignore all this extra crap that it makes on the side. Alright, so knee, rotate, it's going to go into color 2 automatically, and again do the FK knee and pop that in. And this should be good except for grabbing the output and popping that into the rotation of the hip, the knee, there's a cat screaming in the background, and the ankle. I said rotate. Cool. So this should be set up. The other thing you can do if it's helpful to you, purely for an organizational thing, like if you're like, I think something's wrong with the hip in this, I just want to look at that. Excuse me. You can select a node and you can do these little buttons. So this is going to show you anything, pretty much anything that's hooked up to that node. This will show you, I'm just going to unpin all of this stuff. So this will show you anything before the node in a very clean and organized fashion. At this point, you can kind of go in and be like, oh, like I think I, maybe messed up something in this blend node. You can expand that. So that can be an easy way to just target what you're looking at. It'll lay it out in a very, very organized fashion to you. It'll also show you all this weird extra stuff, which I have no idea what to do with these in the outliner. They're just sort of there. But it shows you literally everything hooked up to everything. So, hopefully, if I do... Nope, we got the crazy flipping again. Fantastic. Alright, so I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did last time. Assume that this is probably a fault of... Oh my. Oh my. That is all of the disgusting things. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these constraints. And just... I have no idea why it has that many problematic joints, or like that many... Did I just delete... What did I do? I thought I deleted these constraints. Maybe I didn't. What? Okay, weird. So I should be able to zero that out and just check that one as well. So I should be good to sort of come in and just reconstrain this the same way that I did with the last one. So constrain, orient. Ooh, I'm gonna murder you. I hate Maya. So I'm just gonna, out of curiosity, see if that causes problems. And of course it does. So once again, just go through and delete the... Did I attach that to the wrong? I thought I constrained the ankle, but apparently I didn't. Weird. Oh yeah, what the heck is this? Why? There should not be an orient constraint here. That actually might be why it's adding these weird extra rotations, because I might have had an extra weird spare constraint just floating around randomly. Let's try this a second time. Orient. No. Okay. Ooh, okay. That's even more fun than it was before. Great. Just gonna grab that knee. What the actual heck? Alright, I'm just gonna see if I can figure this out on the screen. Hopefully that is a thing that can be done. IK hip knee effector. Oopsie. Oh, oopsie. That's, whoops. Probably should make sure that I'm not randomly constraining the bind skeleton knee. Or the hip. So the bind skeleton legs should have no constraints on them. They are being controlled entirely through that nonsense that we just set up in the node editor. So I'm just going to go ahead and double check this is all set to 0, which it is. And this is now all 0. So this, I think, was just me being an idiot and selecting 8 different things, hopefully. No. Why, Maya? Why do you do this? But... Oh wait, I should actually look at... Yeah, so that's still doing the flippy nonsense of disgustingness. Alright, so my other thought is maybe I can zero this out, go to constrain, orient constraint. I'm probably going to regret doing this. Nothing good ever comes of this. Yes, good. Nothing good came of that. So I'm just gonna see what happens if I sometimes, once in a... Ooh, there's still a... Okay, great. Unhide that. It's probably constraining stuff to the wrong thing again. See what happens if I do a parent constraint with only rotation. And looky here, that doesn't tack on extra rotation. So this is the thing of, like, sometimes orient constraints are nuts, so don't use them. Yeah, I don't know. I find orient... yeah. And sometimes it's vice versa. Like, sometimes these work terribly, so I have to make a point and an orient constraint to act as a parent constraint. So hopefully, if I go ahead and look at this now, we have no insane flipping, which is very exciting. Hooray. Alright, so I'm going to drag that out, do some kind of random test where I break this guy's leg, and I apparently forgot to delete... Oh, okay, yeah, great, that's fine. Later problems. Alright, so if we look at the switch, visibility, we can see we have that nice toggle back and forth between the IK and the FK skeleton. And this one does have a foot. I'll sort of show you the foot controls and all that nonsense later in another video. Really quick, I'm just going to sort of hook this up so everything follows the way it should, and go back and consult my notes about how to do feet, because I may or may not forget, and then I will come back with another video about doing feet, because there's some fancy, not fancy stuff that you have to set up for IK feet, which I actually think are kind of cathartic. But yeah, so I'm basically just going to do the thing that I did last time. We're just going to grab the, I'm going to also go in and unhide this, just group these and say right, and I'm just going to hide that. So I'm just going to grab the bind skeleton and do a actual parent constraint with translation so that this little control is always in the same spot according to the foot. And again, I'll just sort of come back and do the other stuff later. What I will do is, again, hook up with the connection editor, the IK visibility with this IK visibility here, reload my left, reload my right, IK viz, and while I'm here, I'll just do FK and, where am I going? I totally should have left the foot in there. That's okay. I'll show you how to add that back in later if you forget like a dingus. Haha, it'll be great. Alright, so is that apparently turned on? Okay. What have I done here? I've done a dumb thing. Oh, whoops. Alright. Please don't forget to actually reload your controller so you are selecting the correct objects for what you're trying to do. And then just sort of reload that. I do kind of like actually having them turn off automatically because it's you know you're done with them. But anywho, so that's pretty much the crazy leg setup. So if you want to, again, that's extra credit. The basic thing is what I showed you in the last video with the arms, without the 3 skeletons, and that should be done for all of the limbs, both arms, both legs. And this nonsense I showed you with the triple skeleton is extra credit. You get extra credit for each limb that you get this functionally working on. The only other thing, which actually is a fair point and I should totally show you guys, is like what happens if I go ahead and I'm just going to move my root controller around and you can see that like these legs don't follow. I would like those legs to follow. So the simplest thing I've found to do that is to just sort of go in and you have this lovely pelvis joint, so we're going to do basically the same thing that we do for these controllers to make them follow the legs. So this is my sort of hacky way of doing stuff. Just grab the pelvis and grab your IK, FK joint group, do a constrain and a parent constrain, and now if we move this around, your extra joints should follow along. So like if I grab the, what have I done here? I've done probably something very stupid. Alright, well, if we grab the FK controls, I hooked up something wrong, that's fine. And move these around, you can see like that skeleton is going to stay attached to the body, even though it's not actually part of the bind skeleton. So I'm just going to undo all of that nonsense because that's horrendous, and fix the visibility on the IK, and then I'll come back in another video, again with the legs.